That's right, best of the 535. That's right, Arizona's progressive congressman, the liberal voice on Capitol Hill, representing the people of Southern Arizona. You are going to want to hear this man's remarks. This man has served in the Congress on behalf of the people of Southern Arizona since Geronimo was a paper boy at the Arizona Daily Star. Persuaded to run for office by Padre Quito himself, I give you our preeminent defender for progressive values, the defender for scientific reason. Please welcome our Congressman Raul Grijalva.
Thank you very much. An introduction by friends is something you always kind of wait to see after it's over. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for joining together today. Thank you for asking me to say some brief words to you and with you, and for getting together today in Tucson, Arizona, to say something very simple to the community, and indeed to our decision makers, and with 500 other cities and this country doing the same thing, having these gatherings, to say in very loud terms what we're demanding. We're demanding reality. We're demanding empirical information. We're demanding science. We're demanding fact and evidence-based decision-making. These are all essential, critical, necessary tools in crafting and implementing public policy for our nation and indeed the world. Just last year, over 170 nations, now it's approaching 200, signed the Paris Accord. A significant step forward on a global scale to respond and combat this existential threat that we all of life faces on this planet, climate change. Our nation, through an executive order by President Obama, did the Climate Action Plan, which required all federal agencies, public lands, public holdings, assets, that before anything happened on those, particularly the public lands, that there be a social cost assessed regarding climate change and the development, extraction, or construction that was to occur on that. That is, and as you well know, I don't have to explain it, and other speakers have done that, we now confront an administration beginning at the very top, filled with deniers, and about a very simple business of undoing, sabotaging, and repealing any progress or initiatives that our government has taken to confront climate change. This version of the new Flat Earth Society, whose membership holds the most, unfortunately, the most powerful and influential positions in the Trump administration, they're ex-lobbyists for energy companies, they're ex-lobbyists for polluters, they're science quacks, and they're motivated by profit at the expense of any collective good for the American people. The best example is the EPA, which has been talked about. The administrator appointed and unfortunately approved by the Senate, who has a history of pathological attacks and denials and animosity toward science, toward climate change. Those were essential qualifications he had to head the EPA, an agency he sued as Attorney General from his state over and over and over again in attempts to halt regulations that safeguard people, clean air, clean water regulations that protect the public health of all people, enforcement of violations of polluters, and to trump down any scientific evidence that ran contrary to the need for the industry to proceed with their development and their extractions. You know, it was with our family, this pathological behavior would probably, no doubt, prompt an intervention. And they'd all get together and they'd tell us, you know, you need to go for some therapeutic help. And so, you know, since, what do we have right now? And these are the issues we're confronting. The Clean Power Plan. It's a direct target for repeal or dismantling. And what Pruitt did almost as soon as he came into office, for a chemical company that contributed $1 million towards the inauguration and contributed substantial monies to the campaign of Donald Trump, he set aside 2 decades of science, research, facts, and denied a petition to ban a pesticide that was using this chemical. That was one of his first actions in office. A pesticide that harms people, harms life, and now that was the first action he did, was to reject 2 decades of science. He's filling positions with deniers on climate change throughout it. He scrubbed the issue, the word, the concept of climate change from any administrative websites. He cut 31%, he's proposed cutting 31% of the EPA budget. Those are cuts to research and personnel, 3,100 people. He censored the effort to censor scientific findings and opinions. He gagged employees by being able to speak about their work and denied information. That's the pathological pattern. And it shouldn't surprise us in that we have an administration that believes that the role of science is a passive role. And the role of science is a passive role. To sit in front of your computer, do your research, and that's all you do. But what we're seeing today here is people that value empirical information, people that care about evidence-based decision-making, scientists, people that work in research. They know that their work product is toward a higher goal. It's to deal with the common good, to protect the public health, to deal with the threats to the very existence of this planet and its life forms. That's what science is doing. And to silence that, to gag that, to restrict that, is to jeopardize, and it's not too dramatic to say, to jeopardize our very survival. You know, our environment, our freedom to pursue scientific evidence-based information and decision-making is a hallmark and a cornerstone of what this democracy is about. And that requires that we have a government that nurtures and embraces and relies on the unrestricted, peer-reviewed opinion and information that science and research brings to the decision-making table. To do it otherwise is to make these decisions based on about whose special interests are we satisfying, as opposed to what is the greater good, what about the future, and who are we taking care of. And I think that these next few months are critical. We have before us an administration who will continue to push this agenda item. But we also have, and I want to say this, because as much as, you know, what I just talked about is a little bit of a downer, it's not. Because we have something very resilient in this nation. It's our values. We have something very powerful in our nation. It's our democracy. We have something sustaining in this nation. It's our traditions, our civil liberties, a rule of law. And so as we go forward, I'm optimistic that the vast public opinion that supports science and evidence-based decision-making as part of any public policy that's crafted or implemented, the public that wants something done and believes that the human quotient is part and parcel of climate change and that we must do something about it, and we must do something about it now. The vast number of the American people in public opinion that supports our public lands and wants their integrity protected for the sake of conservation, not for just the sole purpose of extraction. And public opinion that resoundingly says to its leadership and its politicians and its representatives, we care about a much more holistic picture of our world and our country than the very narrow picture driven by wealth and greed. So as we go forward, I think the responsibility we share with each other and the obligation that we have to one another, regardless of party affiliation, regardless of zip code, regardless of where we come from or where our parents came from, the responsibility that we have is shared for this nation, for this country, and for this globe is very simple. We need to stand up and protect our democracy. We need to stand up and protect intellectual honesty. We need to step up and say, the people of this country do not want to crawl back into a cave and ignore the rest of reality that's all around us. We need to promote education. We need to integrate science as part of essential part of that curriculum. We need to open up and allow the research that is going to drive the future, not the immediate satisfaction now. We need that, and we can do that. We have within us, no matter how much money the opposition has in their campaign coffers, it is still one vote, one person in this country. And that is the most powerful ingredient in a democracy. Money has tilted the equation. Votes will once again right this ship. So I'm optimistic, but I have a sense of urgency. You know, I'm a granddaddy now. One's about 10, 12 days old, the latest one. And being a granddaddy, you know, it would be a simple gesture to say, well, we have this immediate political fight, but then life goes on. That's the question. Life needs to go on. And so for the generations that are coming, for the people that will inherit this nation's legacy, let it be a legacy that speaks to all people. Let it be a legacy that makes decisions best based on the best information and evidence available, and we win if that happens. Let it be a democracy that truly represents the greater good, and let it be what we all want this country to be. A country that looks toward the future, adapts and accommodates that future, and takes us from where we are right now to a future where my grandbabies are going to be able to look around, still see what we see, and have the opportunity to live like we live. Thank you very much.
Your Congressman Raul Grijalva. Vato. What a guy. Wow. Thank you all for coming here today. Are we ready for our final speaker? Thank you so much for inviting me to be the MC of this rally. It has been my joy and my pleasure to derive spiritual nourishment from being among all of you. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, if you're looking for action, you can participate in the Tucson People's Climate March coming up next Saturday. Here to speak about that march, a veteran of many environmental and human rights campaigns in southern Arizona, the Southwest Conservation Advocate with the Center for Biological Diversity. Please welcome our friend, Randy Saraglio.
All right, thank you very much for sticking it out.